Hi, welcome back. I thought I would come in and talk to you today, introduce myself. I'm Sarah. You're obviously here because you've been directed here or you are one of my followers. And I wanted to firstly say I love hiking, I love yoga, and I'm passionate about sound therapy. So that's why you get all three on this channel. But I wanted to come in today and talk about the three books that completely changed my life. I started reading a book and listening to a podcast by Mel Robbins at the Let Them Theory. And Mel, in one of her podcasts, she talked about the four books that completely changed her life and invited other people along to talk about the books that have impacted their life and or changed their life. So I'm going to try not to make this too long, but there are three books: The Celestine Prophecy, Diana Gabaldon, Outlander, and Mary Queen of Scots by Margaret George. So let's jump right in. Oh, and thank you, Mel. So let's jump right into The Celestine Prophecy. Now, The Celestine Prophecy is a book about awakening and changes and the fact that there's no such thing as coincidence and, to be aware of your surroundings. But it came to me at a time, and it really did change my life overnight. So, quick thing about my past. I came from a very abusive background, whether it was living with my illiterate mother and the situations we were put in there because we were raised in poverty in Glasgow, and then the relationships that I then got myself into as a young adult. They were very manipulative and very abusive. So fast forward years and years, and I was sitting in the back of a taxi, and I was in the back of this taxi after a court case with my ex where it didn't go very well for me. And I was just bawling my eyes out. I mean, crying, and just, I thought, okay, my God, this is it. My life is just, how am I going to get myself out of this? And I was just a mess. And the taxi driver stops the car and he looks around at me and he says, I don't know why you are the way you are right now and what's happened to you. He said, but I was you 5 years ago. And he said, and somebody did for me what I'm about to do for you. So he hands me a piece of paper. And he hands me this piece of paper and The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, the title, the author. We're outside a bookstore, as it happens. And so I go into the bookstore, I pick up this #1 bestseller back, how long ago was this? Nearly 30 years ago. And he, I took the book, he drove me home. Did what I had to do for my evening's preparation, get the kids to bed, stuff like that. And I sat down and I read it from start to finish. Now, what happened with me is, this might not be what everybody else takes from this book, but what happened for me was I recognised myself. I was a poor wee me, which means that I go into victim mode, always complaining about my life. Poor me, why was my mother like that? And why did I have to get into a relationship where it would end up violent? And why did I lose my job? And poor me, and poor me, and poor me. And I was in total victim mode. In fact, I had two modes my whole life: victim mode or survival mode, my whole life. And what this book showed me is, see, I was told that when you're in victim mode, it's because of who you are. You choose to be there. You're an idiot, you're stupid, you're ugly, you'll never amount to anything. And this was the dictators in my life that had been telling me this all the time. So I truly believed that I was some sort of idiot and it was only me that felt this way. But what this book showed me is many, many, many people were just like me. So I wasn't alone. And it was amazing. It was such a revelation for me not to be alone in my suffering, right? So I didn't want to be, when I was reading about dictators, people who were aloof and poor wee me's in this book, I was like, oh, I don't want to be a poor wee me. I'm And I recognised myself, and because it's awakenings, and I recognised that power that had been sitting deep inside me. Now, some people might go, really? But all of us know we're special. But if you're told enough times that you're not, you don't tend to recognise it. I swear I woke up the next day. I was no longer a victim. I am the woman that I am today. Overnight, I found my power. Overnight, I found my strength. I went right, I stopped looking over my shoulder. I started looking for a new home because the home I was living in was just full of bad memories. I made all these decisions first thing in the morning. I asked my boss for more work so that I could get more money. I found a second job so that I could get more money, so I could put all these plans into action. And I never looked back. Never looked back. And I recognised that the people that I'd been surrounding myself with were, some of them were academic snobs who were dictators, who made me feel bad. So not only did I go into victim mode, and then I would go into survival mode because I had to pick myself back up. After reading this book, I pretty much went into warrior mode, and I became the strong woman that I am today. Now, not everyone might take that for this book, as I said before, but that's what I got from it. It changed my life. And it pretty much tells you that there's no such thing as, you meet somebody by chance. Everybody that I've met after I read this book had either read this book or were on some sort of journey, whether it be mystical or self-discovery or, just looking for the answers. They were all on some sort of journey, and I never felt alone. I became very observant, and my life just got better and better and better. In fact, I sit here now. I came from poverty, and I sit here now in this beautiful home in Scottsdale, Arizona, with the most amazing husband, amazing friends, and my career was just wonderful. So, now does that mean that victim mode and poor wee me doesn't come back to visit sometimes? No, it doesn't. There are times when I'll find myself going back into that mode, and I'll go, wait a minute. And I'll sit her down and invite her for tea, and I'll say, okay, why are you here? What's going on? What do I need to learn from you coming back into my life? Because it's always here, right? You just have to choose whether you embrace it or not. And sometimes I'll go, I have to sit with it for a minute. And I'll sit there with my victim mode, my little lady victim mode, and I'll go, okay, why are you here? And it'll make me think about who I've been talking to or situations that I've been in that week. And then I go, okay, that man that I was sitting next to, the academic snob or the guy that wanted to tell everybody how to think, it just triggered those memories. It triggered that vibration in me where I felt a little insecure. And it was putting me back into that place where I didn't feel good enough. And then I had to say, okay, I know why you come back to visit, and I can fix that and take control of that. So that was the biggest impact in my life. So you might read it and it might do the same for you, but that's why it changed my life, and I will be forever grateful, because I'm a force to be reckoned now with. So a force to be reckoned with, sorry. Okay, so the second book, excuse me, the second book, 20 years ago, I moved to the United States, and my mother-in-law and I, Madeline, sweet woman, we were wandering around an antiques mall, and she handed me this book, and she said, I think you'll enjoy reading this. It's about Scotland. Now people, it's funny thing is, when you move to America, right, people automatically assume that because I'm from Scotland, I know every nook and cranny of Scotland. I know everybody. We're all friends. We all know each other. We know every little town, because when you think about the scale of things, right, think about the size of this book. See that wee dot up there? That's Scotland. See the rest of the book? That's the United States. We are tiny compared to what the vastness of the United States of America. So I would walk into a company here and people would say to me, oh, do you know the Wilsons from so-and-so? And I'd say, no, I've never heard of them. And they go, oh, well, you must know them, you're from Scotland. Do you know the town Abercrombie? No, I don't know it, and I've never been. What do you mean? You've never been? And they would just assume that we knew everything. So, and then they would say, well, what about this? And how do you feel? And honestly, my Scottish history was crap. It really was. I was a lowlander. I worked in the city. I was raised in the city. And I was in survival mode, work mode, just like most people are in the city, right? I have my jobs. And so she gives me this book, and this book is historical fiction, and it's about a couple who are in love, beautiful love story. But when I was reading it, it's quite raunchy. So when I was reading it, I was like that, but my mother-in-law, I see you, Madeline. Okay, thanks for that. But to this day, it's still one of my all-time favourite reads. But what it did is it ignited a passion in me, right? I was reading the book and I'm going, I wonder if that's true, because it's historical fiction. So I would take wee notes, and it ignited this passion and this longing to go back to Scotland for me. I couldn't wait to get away from Glasgow, and now I wanted to go back with a passion of really getting to know my home country. It was amazing. Maybe became very proud. I get goosebumps bumps when I think about it, right? Made me so incredibly proud of being Scottish. Now I loved being Scottish, but being from Glasgow and all the stuff that I just couldn't wait to get away. Well, this book. And another thing about me being from the lowlands and living in poverty, academically I was very challenged, right? School, I couldn't stand school. I couldn't wait to get away, earn my own money, get away from my mum, which led me into bad relationships. So when I was always told that I would never be able to academically be accepted in certain societies, right? So when I read this, and it made me, I realised that historical fiction was a great way for me to learn things, because I really enjoyed reading it. Well, I never looked back. This is a great book. You've probably heard of it from the TV series. They turned it into a TV series. So I'm not going to go into what the book's about. It's a love story, it's historical, it's fiction, and Diana Gabaldon is an amazing writer. So if you've not read the book and you've just watched the TV show, it's a must read. But as I say, what it did for me, it got me interested in the history of Scotland, and I was determined, right? Because I was going through the immigration process. I was stuck out in the middle of nowhere, so I needed something to ignite, you know, my lust for, like, we're going to stay here and I'm going to go back and I'm going to know about Scotland now. So I did really learn a lot. I learned a lot about relationships, funnily enough, and I realised that I wasn't stupid. I was not a stupid person. I know it sounds funny, right? Reading historical fiction will make you realise you're not stupid, but I had a passion for history that was just like, whoa, I'm going to learn. And I did. So the day I finished this book, and as you can see, it's like 600 pages long. The day I finished that book, I went to the library, which brings me to book number 3, right? I went to the library and I decided to start really studying Scottish history. So I go to the library and I'm looking at, there was lots of tourism and travel and the mountains and the castles, but that is not what I wanted. So I come across this title here, right? And I was always fascinated. We had learned wee songs about Mary Queen of Scots, got her head chopped off, and we'd play games, but I never knew anything about Mary Queen of Scots. So I was looking at all these things and I'm like, oh God, that sounds boring, but guess what popped up? Mary Queen of Scots, right? And it was historical fiction. So it was Mary's love story of, you know, becoming the Queen of Scotland when she was just a baby, her journey back from, you know, going through the French courts, getting married, and her journey back to Scotland and taking over the throne. And most of you know who Mary Queen of Scots was, but Margaret George writes in a way that you feel as if you're there. She takes you on this magical journey, right, where you swear to God she was sitting interviewing all the characters that she writes about. I've read many of her books now. My all-time favourite author, Margaret George. I've never known anybody that has even touched how this woman can put things on paper. I get excited when I hear there's a book out there or I come across it. So this really taught me a lot about Scottish history, and I am forever grateful, because it just led me down this path of feeling confident. So then when people would ask me about Scotland, I would be like running things off about the wars in Scotland, the kings, the queens, the war between England, the famine, how it affected people, the witch, I mean, you name it, I've delved into everything, every single thing. And the interesting thing is, I am now part of the Caledonia Society for Scotland in Arizona. And each year, I know it's crazy, each year I will go and work in the genealogy tent and help people find their Scottish history and explain to people how, you know, how names changed coming through Ellis Island, because some people couldn't write. So they would say their name, and with our accent, what the person interviewing them, you know, would write down would be a different interpretation from the spelling that they were finding here, and how all that get miscombobulated. And so you help them find their tartan. And I can't believe that I'm that person that helps other people find their Scottish history and their family and their flags and their towns, and this is what this book gave me, confidence, right, and let me see that I wasn't alone. And guess what? Back at that first book, I am now a therapist and I help other people find answers. Can you believe that? I went from this basket case of a woman, right, and victim mode and survival mode, to being a person that helps other people. I just love how a book can change your life. And of course, book number 2 ignited my passion for learning, but on a massive level. But it's also an amazing read. It's a fantastic book, one of my favourites. And then it led me to this, which ignited that massive passion for really learning about Scottish history. So if you're still here, and you're still listening to me, thanks at Mel Robin, because I had forgot where I came from, and well, I didn't forget where I came from. You just reminded me that maybe I can share with other people that you are amazing. It just takes the right book, the right person, the right circumstances to ignite that which is hidden in you and your passion. So please, 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 if you're still sitting here right now and you're listening to this video and you're watching me, know that you can do anything you set your mind to. You just need a wee bit of help, a wee bit of guidance, and maybe this is it for you. Maybe the Celestine Prophecy will change your life. Maybe digging into history, your family history. Thank you so much for sitting here this long. Now, I had told myself I was going to keep this at about 30 minutes. And I know I talk kind of fast because I get excited, right? But if you're still with me, please share this video with your friends or your family or somebody that might need to hear this, or might think about a book that changed them and they want to share it with somebody else. Because we're a collective, right? We're in this as a collective energy, reaching out to other people and helping other people. So thank you. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. You know, I post about everything. I post about my passion of hiking and sound therapy and energy work and yoga. I love it because it keeps me supple, you know. It helps me feel energized and sets me up for the day. And you'll see that my yoga isn't complex yoga. It's very simple, but it means a lot to me. So please subscribe, share this, and I am truly grateful that you've sat here with me and listened. God bless you. Take care.